Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you. When judgment comes for you. Tell me what you gonna do when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you. 'Cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see some for Charlie. Little boo, but God's got him. And I'm gonna miss everybody out of roll and flow like I looked at a wild flag and played for dust and they play too deep for beach side. Little legs I came to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand way. You can't go follow
God bless you, working on a plan to heaven.
Backbone Wrestling Network. Welcome back to the CrosUp, your weekly look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. So we're going to be running through the results and happenings from Raw on May the 18th to SmackDown on May the 22nd, as well as Saturday night's main event. Next week, I will be starting the show with Double or Nothing, and then the following week after that, I will be starting the show with Clash in Italy, because we have two back-to-back Sunday pay-per-views, or premium live events, whatever you want to call them. So I'm going to tag on Saturday night's main event this week because it was on Saturday, but the next 2 weeks I'm going to do the pay-per-view that kind of started the previous week. So, but we'll start with Raw from May the 18th. Like I said, we open with a recap of last week's brawl between Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu, with Fatu leaving Roman laying once again. Adam Pearce stops Roman Reigns as he comes in, saying if Reigns had listened to him last week, none of that would have happened. Reigns says that doesn't matter because he's calling Fatu out right now. Pearce wants Fatu fired, but they're cut off by Jacob Fatu showing up to the arena. Fatu then comes out to call out Roman, but he gets the Usos instead. Jay then comes out with a chair, but Jimmy tries to keep the peace. Seems like what he usually tries to do. Jimmy calls out Fatu for not thinking and costing himself last week. Fatu attacked management, and now he's about to get fired. Then what? Is Fatu going to go back to being his old self to help his family then? Jay goes after him, but gets knocked down, with Fatu grabbing the tongue and death grip on Jimmy. Jay's chair shot has no effect, and he gets death gripped as well. Roman Reigns then comes out, and the big brawl is on, with Reigns even throwing a big boot out and kicking him down. He goes for the Superman punch, but he gets countered with another tongue and death grip, and the Usos make the save. Superfly splash, or a Uso splash, and a 1D puts Fatu down, and the Usos tie him up in the ropes. Some Superman punches and a spear leave Fatu out, and here comes Adam Pearce. Reigns says something to him, and Pearce seems ready to fire Jacob Fatu. Fatu grabs the mic and says he wants tribal combat. Pearce tries to say something again, but Roman Reigns stops him and says he is in for tribal combat. So we will get tribal combat at Clash in Italy. So that'll be the big main event match that I'm sure we will get there. It's a pretty stacked card in Italy, so we'll see what happens there. But tribal combat will be made official throughout the show. I don't know if they actually make an official announcement or anything like that, but we then get video of Judgment Day turning on Finn Balor all those months ago, with JD McDonough wanting revenge on him for turning on him after so many years of being best friends. They then have a street fight, and Finn Balor defeats JD McDonough via pinfall when he hits a shotgun drop kick with the trash can on JD's head, and then he hits a coup de grace while the trash can is also on JD's head, and kind of smashes him in it and pins him after that. We then look at Seth Rollins helping the Street Profits last week, but they aren't interested in teaming or being friends at all. Rollins says he has to finish things with a vision, and sometimes the best thing to do is run right at your problem. He hasn't had a match on Raw in about 9 months, so we should remedy that tonight. Tonight he has been given the main event slot, and he wants to face anyone on the team. He'd like it to be Ron Breakker, who says he can do it on his own. But what is a Breakker? A Nepo baby, or everything that he's supposed to be? Tonight, it's Breakker's chance to show Rollins who he really is, that he can survive on his own. We then go to Sol Ruca. She is excited to have done very well in her limited time on Raw so far. Becky Lynch interrupts her, though. Becky doesn't think much of Sol's efforts thus far, and she hasn't even faced the best, which is obviously Becky. Ruca should go back to NXT. which she says she'll do when called upon. Becky Lynch calls her a quitter, and Soul shows up into the arena. Soul is then in the ring and gets right to the point by calling Becky out. This brings out Becky, who wants to know what Soul is trying. Soul wants to face Becky right here tonight, but gets shot down. Becky then kind of goes to the whole thing where she talks about how she's the greatest of all time and that Sports Illustrated said it and all that kind of stuff. Soul says she's sick of it. And then Becky starts back over because she got interrupted. Becky then talks about all the people that she's fought through over the months and throughout the years, and how she's always ended up on top. And she agrees to let Soul face her at Saturday night's main event, with Soul wanting it to be a title match, but Becky says that's too far and says Soul hasn't earned it yet. So we won't be doing that. So they do end up having a match at Saturday night's main event, but it is non-title. But we'll see when that happens, how we may get to an eventual title match. We then have the Vision. They ask Paul Heyman about Saturday night's main event and their match with the Street Profits, but Braun Breaker comes in to say, make the match with Seth Rollins for tonight. Heyman says Austin Theory should do it instead, so Breaker asks Theory and Logan Paul to leave. Breaker insists that he can beat Seth Rollins, while Heyman agrees. He points out that Rollins will be busy tonight, and Breaker will know it in advance. So he's basically kind of implying that Seth will have his hands full with something else, so Breaker can go out and destroy him. We then have the Americanos match, kind of a 6-man tag match. El Grande Americano 2.0 and Los Americanos defeat the OG Americano and Los Hermanos Americanos, when the new Americanos, all three, do the loaded headbutt on Bruto and get the win. We then look back at the Bloodline versus Jacob Fatu brawl from earlier. Tribal Combat is set for Clash in Italy. We get video of what Tribal Combat means. I believe we've only had 2 of those matches before. And then the Usos know what Tribal Combat is all about, but LA Knight comes in to interrupt. Jimmy says, not now, but LA Knight asks, or what? Knight then calls them out for doing the same things that the 3 of them have done when they were back in the Bloodline originally. But he kind of wants to know what the difference between them beating up the Vision at WrestleMania. So what's the difference? And the Usos aren't happy with LA Knight kind of calling them out for, they were friends, they were, allies and stuff like that. So what's the difference between now and then? Obviously trying to get them to understand that they're falling right back into the Bloodline traps that they were in before. We then have Ethan Page. He sits down with Michael Cole, brags about himself. He even has a pre-written statement that he reads. Cole praises Page's. It has Cole praise Page's jawline, but Page can't get over wanting to rename the Intercontinental Championship the Ethan Page Championship. Cole says he can't do this anymore and asks Page why he acts like this. Cole praises Page's skills, but thinks his ego will cost him on Saturday. Page calls it confidence rather than ego, and he'll prove it at Saturday night's main event when he becomes the new Intercontinental Champion. We then have Brie Bella and Paige. They retain their tag team championships, defeating Judgment Day of Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez when Brie gets a surprise roll-up on Roxy. After the match, the Judgment Day jump them, but Bayley and Lyra come out and make the save. We then have LA Knight. He comes up to Seth Rollins and says he can do this himself tonight, but it's going to go badly. He needs help, so have fun getting stomped out. So LA Knight kind of telling Seth that he's been through this before and that it's going to end badly for him. We then get Penta. He is sick of Ethan Page wanting the Intercontinental Championship all for himself. He'll do everything he can to take care of Ethan on Saturday. We then get the Oba Femi Open Challenge, or so we thought, and Brock Lesnar returns. So the retirement angle at WrestleMania was BS, and Brock Lesnar is back, and he hits him with 4 F5s in a row. So that will eventually get made into a Clash in Italy match as well. So we will see a rematch from WrestleMania on that show. We come back from break, and Adam Pearce is livid, and Paul Heyman comes in. Pearce demands to know what happened, but Heyman says he thought Lesnar was retired. Heyman pulls out a contract already signed by Lesnar to face Femi at Clash in Italy, and Pearce seems confused but interested by the prospect of that match. We then go to the Street Profits. They're ready for the Vision on Saturday because they have a vision of themselves winning the tag team titles. Angelo Dawkins is distracted, though, and Montez tells him to go. Dawkins goes over to Seth Rollins to thank him for last week. Rollins thanks him for that and apologizes for Dawkins getting taken out. For now, though, he has a match of his own. We then go to the main event, and Seth Rollins defeats Austin Theory via pinfall following a pedigree. After the match, Logan Paul comes in for a beatdown, so here is Angelo Dawkins, eventually followed by Montez as well for the save. Ford does a big flip dive and tries to talk Dawkins out of helping Seth because he doesn't really deserve it, only for Braun Breaker to run in and give Ford a super spear. Seth then makes the save, but Logan Paul grabs his leg, allowing Breaker to cut him in half as well. Security comes out, but Breaker drops Rollins again before finally being pulled away. And then Adam Pearce threatens the Vision, and they leave on top, smiling to end the show. So more Vision beat down. It seems like they're trying to play maybe the Street Profits against each other. Obviously, Dawkins wants to help fellow babyface Rollins, while Ford kind of wants to look out for their own. So we'll see if they go for a breakup kind of angle. There's a report that came out earlier this week that they want to kind of retool the tag division since they've obviously let go of a few teams recently, and there's not much of a tag division to speak of. So I imagine with that thought process, they're probably not going to break up one of their best teams, but it does seem like they're trying to put some tension between Montez and Angelo during this angle. So we'll see if they become stronger or if this separates them finally. But as far as this match for Raw, I would go with Finn and JD. I thought it was a pretty good street fight. They obviously have really good chemistry with each other. They're basically best friends in real life, I believe, and obviously have portrayed that on screen as well. But yeah, I think they have really good chemistry, and they pulled out some really cool stuff in that street fight. So check it out if you get the chance to, if you haven't already. We then go to NXT. We open with the newcomers of Mason Rook and Cam Hendricks. They defeat the champs of Miles Bourne and Tony D'Angelo when Rook hits the Big Bang Catastrophe on Bourne, and Hendricks actually had tagged himself in before that, and he kind of rolls Rook off and gets the pin himself. We then have Dark State. They are ready to get the tag team titles back. Deion Lennox and Saquon Sugars still seem to have some problems with each other, though. They seem to be still kind of miscommunicating and not really on the same page, but they are going to be representing the team tonight, so we'll see how that goes. We then have Kalani Jordan. She talks about how much success that she's had around here. Now, though, she can't even get a title shot despite making the champion tap out. This brings Izzy Dame out, who says she should get the next title shot, which brings out the champion Lola Vice, who says Jordan talks a lot and Dame dared to hit her in the back of the head. Next week, it will be Lola versus Izzy, which doesn't work for Dame or the interrupting Kendall Gray, who comes out. Jordan complains about Gray and is promptly hit in the back with a crutch by Bryn Sinclair. And Izzy Dame and Kalani are quickly cleared out, so the other three stand tall. So the faces kind of end up standing tall to end the segment. So, obviously Dame has been played off as the number one contender over the last few weeks, so she will get her shot next week. And obviously, I think we'll see some kind of maybe four-way or a lot of combinations of these four girls kind of going after each other over the next month or so. We then have Dorian Van Dukes and Sean Legacy. They are ready to get back on track, but Legacy reveals that they're facing each other in a speed tournament match next week to determine the number one contender for that title. We then have Noam Dar. He gives Romeo Moreno a pep talk. Moreno wants Dar ringside with him tonight, and Dar is in for that idea. We then have a lot of women in the locker room, they're watching Natalya on some kind of interview or podcast. Jada Parker then comes in and says she isn't happy. Layla Diggs isn't impressed with Jada, and a match seems likely between the two. So Layla kind of standing up for Natalya, even though Jada's was kind of going after her for taking up a spot around here. We then have Tristan Angels. This is his debut match. He defeats Romeo Moreno, also his debut match. He wins via pinfall. He kind of puts his knee into the back of his neck and kind of does. It's basically like a stomp, but it's a knee instead. They called it like a driving knee. But Tristan Angels wins with that. After the match, Tristan Angels says Shiloh Hill belongs with these horrible fans. But Shiloh thinks he should be named Mr. NXT. He's in the crowd wearing a hat and has a big sign. Shiloh puts a photo of Angels looking rather dressed up, complete with a top hat. Angels is livid and says this won't ruin his debut, even as Shiloh laughs maniacally in the audience. We then have Lola Vice, Tatum Paxley, Miles Bourne, and Tony D'Angelo talking about how tough it is to keep their championships. Tatum is off for a title defense herself, leaving Tony D'Angelo alone. Naraku then comes in to say evil can show up at any time. We then have the culling. They study OTM before their next match, or their match next week, but Izzy interrupts. The rest of the team didn't seem to see what happened earlier on to Izzy, as they weren't there to help her, but Sean Spears calms things down. And Izzy also seems pretty pissed that they have a match next week, as well as her having a title match. So it doesn't seem like they're going to be there to help her at all. But yeah, Izzy's pretty PO'd about the whole thing. And we'll see if the culling continue to kind of fall apart, as it seems like they are as of late. We then have the North American Women's title match. Tatum Paxley retains over Lizzie Rain when she hits the cemetery drive. After the match, Zarya runs in and lays both of them out with F5s. We then have Kendall Gray and Ren Sinclair there in the back. Gray insists that Sinclair isn't a liability. Robert Stone comes in to say that this can't keep happening, but Sinclair says she'll be cleared next week. We then have Keanu Carver defeat another newcomer, Tate Wilder. He had been in a match last week, but this is his first singles match, but Keanu beats him, winning the match with a spinebuster. We then have Jackson Drake. He gives the very nervous Vanity Project a pep talk. Michael Lockwood comes in to say that she has the rest of Dark State covered. The guys, that doesn't give them much inspired confidence, but they'll take all the help that they can get at this point. We then have Shiloh Hill. He gets OTM to sign his petition to be Mr. NXT. Birthright, on the other hand, isn't so interested. This gets Hill a match with Charlie Dempsey next week. Cam Hendricks then comes back out to the ring to cut a promo and is rather pleased with beating the two top champions in NXT in his very first match. He wants the NXT title, but here's Mason Rook to interrupt. Rook wants credit for the win, but Hendricks passes, and Rook ends up beating Hendricks down. And then we get our main event where the Vanity Project defeats Dark State, retaining their tag team titles. When Sugars and Lennox kind of argue, and Ricky Smokes takes advantage with a small package. After the match, all of Dark State get in the ring, and then they end up beating down Saquon Sugars, siding with Deion Lennox in the argument. And Sugars slaps Lennox, but is eventually put through the announcer's table with their little slingshot power bomb. So Saquon Sugars is out of Dark State, so they're down to a trio instead of a foursome, obviously. So, but we'll see what Saquon can do on his own. He has some good charisma, so I think he can do pretty well as a face. But we'll see what is in store for Dark State. We'll see if they kind of start, losing member by member and eventually are down to no one. But Sugars is out, so we'll see what Lennox can do at the top helm and see what the rest of the group can do without Sugars around. But Paxley and Rain was a really good match between the two ladies. It seems like every week on NXT, a women's match is the best match, but they usually pull out the best stuff. So you got to give credit where it's due. But I thought they had a really good banger match. So definitely check that one out. We'll go to Dynamite from there. Obviously, the last Dynamite before Double or Nothing. And they actually do Dynamite and Collision back to back. It was a 3-hour broadcast and all that. So, but we go to the earlier in the day. Chris Jericho and the Young Bucks are at a beach near a lighthouse for some reason. they talk about a 6-man tag team match they have tonight, and then the biggest stadium stampede of all time will be happening at Double or Nothing this weekend. They imply having a special team name too, and they come up with the Bucks of Jericho, which the Young Bucks seem to like, and then Chris Jericho comes up with Y2 Jackson, which the Bucks do not like. But this becomes a very annoying part of this first match as Excalibur continuously calls them the Bucks of Jericho or Y2 Jackson, and he says this all of it every time he mentions them. So it is absolutely annoying and terrible. I think Bucks of Jericho is what they kind of end up going with, but he says both literally every time he references them doing anything in this match. But they lose the opening match when the Don Callis family of Mark Davis and Andrade team with Ricochet, and they defeat the Young Bucks and Jericho when Matt gets knocked out with a foreign object after some interference from the dogs, the War Dogs that come out and help out their teammates from Stadium Stampede, and the heels get the win. We then get video of the Konosuke Takeshita and Kazuchika Okada rivalry to this point, kind of hyping up their match for the International Championship on Sunday at Double or Nothing. We then go to Darby Allin. He says he keeps taking these title shots because it makes him feel something special. He basically says he can't wait to get to Double or Nothing, more or less kind of treating Mike Bailey tonight as an easy win. I don't think he really meant it like that, but he's basically implying that he's not having to worry about tonight, and he will make it to Sunday. So we'll see what happens there. But Darby does have to get through Speedball later tonight. They then show kind of a hype video for MJF versus Darby Allin at Double or Nothing, kind of hyping up that match. We then get a no DQ match. Mark Briscoe defeats Tommaso Ciampa via pinfall when he hits a J Driller through a barbed wire table and then follows it with a froggy bow for the win. We then have Tony Schiavone. He is in the ring to talk about the Owen Hart tournament, but Prince Nana interrupts and says he has this from here. He brings out Swerve, but then here is Bandito to jump Strickland. Bandito goes after Nana, though, and Strickland gets in a shot to the knee. He loads out a vertebraker that he's going to hit on the chair, but it's broken up, and Bandito gorilla presses him instead. Strickland then bails when he sees that he might be about to get hit with a chair. We then have Willow Nightingale talks about some of her great moments over the last year, her recent title defenses, how she's been so proud to be the face of TBS. She says, unfortunately, she has injured her shoulder. She is out of the Owen Hart Cup and has to vacate the TBS Championship. She doesn't know when or where she'll be back, but she will be back to the top when she gets there. We then have Jon Moxley versus Kyle O'Reilly. It is for the Continental, well, it's a Continental title eliminator. So it eventually goes to a time limit draw because all Continental title matches are 20-minute time limits. And they go the time limit when Moxley is actually in the ankle lock, but he actually does survive it to eventually end this in a time limit draw, like I said. So this actually ends up being a match that's going to happen at Double or Nothing as well. This kind of earns him a title shot. He didn't win per se, but he didn't lose either. So we'll see O'Reilly and Moxley in a no time limit match at Double or Nothing. He actually challenges him right after that to the match. So we'll see that at Double or Nothing. We then have Chris Statlander. She is upset over Willow Nightingale being hurt and not having to be out. Hikaru Shida comes up and interrupts her and says they're here to watch a match and want the women to fight hard in their upcoming match as well. We then have Roosh. He wants Darby Allin next week if he survives his next title defenses. We then have Athena and the Triangle of Madness. They defeat Thunder Rosa, Mina Shirakawa, and the Brawling Birds when Julia Hart missed Thunder Rosa, which allows Tekla to roll her up. We then have Kevin Knight. He gives Mike Bailey a pep talk and wants a shot at the world title when Speedball wins, which obviously works for Speedball. Speedball will give him the first shot if he's when he can give him the first shot, I should say. Because obviously, I guess if Speedball wins, he would defend against MJF on Sunday. The Death Riders then do some push-ups in their little gym that they have backstage. Moxley says he's ready for Kyle O'Reilly in their no time limit match at Double or Nothing. Moxley thanks O'Reilly for giving him a chance to practice what he preached. O'Reilly survived the night, and on Sunday, he gets to try his odds and see if he can go Double or Nothing. We then have our main event where Darby Allin defeats Mike Bailey via submission with the Scorpion Deathlock. He had hit a coffin drop right before that. And MJF had been on commentary during the match, and he kind of storms off to end Dynamite, and we transition right into Collision from there. Bailey and Allen was the best match for me. Moxley and O'Reilly was really good as well. It's kind of a toss-up which one you like better, but I just kind of like Speedball and Darby a little better than I like either of those guys. So that would be my preference for best match. Like I said, we transition right into Collision from there. We open with Darby getting up after retaining his championship. Kevin Knight gets in the ring and says he's proud of Speedball, even in defeat. Knight praises Darby's success and tasks him with humbling MJF this Sunday. If Knight can beat MJF, he knows Darby can do it as well. Everyone wants to see MJF get his head shaved, and then Speedball and Kevin Knight then leave. And MJF comes back and jumps Darby from behind. Speedball and Kevin Knight have no idea what is going on, so MJF gets some hair clippers. Allen takes him away and goes for MJF's hair, and this has MJF scurrying away. We then have the Death Riders. They give Will Ospreay a pep talk before his match with Shibata, which is up next. We then have Will Ospreay defeating Yuri Shibata via pinfall following a blade. After the match, Samoa Joe comes out to ask what we have here. Ospreay's new friends had to come out and save him, which Joe would have done for his friends too. Ospreay has made a choice, though, and Joe is going to put him to sleep. That sends Ospreay into a rant about how bad his neck was, and he doesn't know how Joe is going to kill him when he's already died in the ring before. All he wants to do is go to All In and wrestle in his home country's biggest stadium. The Death Riders have turned him into an assassin, and he is ready to take out Joe in the Owen Hart tournament this Sunday. We then have Cope and Cage. He reacts to how he and Cage got to know each other as kids. The fans have seen them grow from kids into men, and this is real. FTR wants to kill this, and Cope wants the best version of FTR to show up this Sunday. Cage says FTR have made some choices, and now that means that they are going to get fucked up on Sunday. We then have Roosh squash TJ Crawford in about a minute, and he finishes things with the horns, obviously. He also, like I said, kind of grabs the mic afterwards and says he wants a title shot after Double or Nothing. We then have another squash match. The Divine Dominion squash El Valentine and Kayla Lopez when they hit the Divine Intervention on Valentine. We then get another hype video for Darby versus MJF on Sunday. And then we get our main event where FTR retain the tag team titles against the conglomeration of Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong when Stokely loads up a watch on his hand and ends up punching Cassidy in the face with it. And this allows Dax to get the pin on him. Mostly squash matches. I thought the Ospreay-Shibata match was pretty good, but the tag match at the end had a little more juice to it, and I would give that match of the night for this show. We'll then roll straight from there to Impact. We have the System come out to get things going. Eddie Edwards brags about the team's success and says Cedric Alexander got them one step closer to holding all of the gold. He's coming for Mike Santana, but Brian Myers doesn't like the fans jeering them, kind of booing them constantly throughout this promo. Bear Bronson then grabs the mic and promises that anyone that comes for them will be eaten alive. Alexander has become the record taker because obviously Leon Slater was right there, possibly about to break the record for the all-time X Division title reign. But he said he became the record taker last week, and if Fabian Eichner has something to say, come say it. Eichner then comes out, who says he was out here to introduce himself last week. He knows he is a future TNA champion, and that X Division title looks mighty nice right now. The team then comes after Eichner, who gets right through all of them, ends up choking Cedric Alexander, and the system then bail away. So they make Eichner look pretty strong in his debut segment here. We then have Daria Ray. She's in the back. She's seemingly giving Steve Macklin a pep talk, implying that she favors him in the world title match that he has later tonight. We then have Indy Hartwell. She defeats Elena Black via disqualification. Ariana Grace had been on commentary. She hops up from commentary and attacks Hartwell, which obviously draws the cue. After the match, Grace Hartwell outside. It's about her father, who comes out. Santino says that wasn't cool and yells at Stacks, who seems interested in a fight. Santino pulls out the Cobra and loads it up, but Daria Ray comes out to interrupt. She hits the kind of "shut up, I'm talking" catchphrase, and then she brings up her past in MMA and tells everyone to leave. And she kind of threatens Santino with, like, this is what keeps getting you in trouble, is you keep trying to fight the talent. You need to calm down. You're the director of authority and all that kind of stuff. So please keep your hands away. They end up making a Stacks and Santino match for next week, so we'll see how that goes. We then have the Elegance brand. They are planning for Ash's return. When the lights go out, the lights come back up, and there is a message from the Undead Realm that says they will be seeing the Elegance brand soon. We then have Broken Matt Hardy. He defeats Vincent via pinfall following the twist of fate. We then have AJ Francis. He comes up to Elijah in the back and applauds his guitar playing and suggests that they collaborate. Elijah politely declines, and Francis says, "You're going to regret that." We then have Santino Marella. He announces a pair of upcoming Champions Challenges match, which is some random title matches versus some random challengers. Daria Ray interrupts and makes Santino versus Stacks for next week. Santino approves and walks away. With the system coming in, Eddie Edwards requests and receives a match with Fabian Eichner next week. We then have Mustafa Ali's International Title Open Challenge. It is answered by Evolve's Chaz Starboy Hall. Mustafa Ali wins the match. He avoids a sliced bread attempt and turns it into a backslide cradle and gets the win. We then have Mara Shade. She meets Keith Jardine, who was in the crowd last week. She asked him to eventually be in her corner in some kind of match. So we'll see where and when that happens. We then have Eric Young. He comes in to fire up Steve Macklin, who seems to be in some kind of trance, like he's really focusing on his title match and doesn't really want to hear or actually hear anything that anybody says to him. Eric Young talks about giving him an opportunity when he was younger, and now Macklin has the biggest choice of his life ahead of him. We then have Isaiah Brookside defeat Jada Stone via pinfall when she hits the dark side, which is just an implant DDT. That's what she calls it. We then have Steve Macklin. He goes after Mike Santana in the back before their match. Security eventually pulls them apart. We then have Stacks and Ariana Grace. Stacks talk about being ready for his match with Santino, and he's been waiting for it for a long time, but he's ready for the match next week. Then we have our main event where Santana defeats Steve Macklin via pinfall following the spin the block. So this is obviously supposed to be the main event of the Sacrifice show in New Orleans that I went to a few months ago. I think this is probably the match that they were going to have, could have had, whatever you want to say. And it ends up being really good. I thought it was a really solid main event. It ends up being match of the show for sure for me. But I think this is what we could have gotten had the injury that happened to Macklin. If it hadn't happened, I think this is the match we could have gotten, which would have been a good and really awesome way to end the show. But yeah, Santana Macklin, definitely best match of the show. We'll then go to SmackDown from there. We open with a recap of last week's contract signing between Cody Rhodes and Gunther. It was obviously broken up by Royce Keys, and then Gunther had to defeat Keys to get the title shot in the end. We then have Rhea Ripley coming out to start the show with a promo. She got jumped by Jade Cargill last week and wants to face Jade at Clash in Italy. Charlotte and Alexa Bliss then come out with Charlotte saying that they have a 6-woman tag at Saturday night's main event between them and Jade's crew. Before that, though, Charlotte gets on Rhea for not being there to help them last week. Rhea says she was visiting her family, and they continue to kind of argue. Fatal Influence then interrupts. JC Jane laughs at them and says they take opportunities where they can, and this will result in a tag match later tonight. We then have Solo Sikoa. He won't let the MFTs talk about Tala's match with Shinsuke Nakamura. Royce Keys then comes in to yell, but Solo Sikoa says that Keys was the one who got physical. Keys is going to need someone to have his back, and since Sikoa is family, who could be better to do that for him? We then have Alexa. She tells Charlotte that she's sick, so Charlotte and Rhea are teaming together tonight, and Charlotte seems less than pleased by this fact. We then have Tala Tonga defeat Shinsuke Nakamura via pinfall following a chokeslam. After the match, they continue to beat him down, with Tama Tonga seemingly implying that he may be turning on the MFTs, but he ends up hitting Nakamura with the cutthroat, and then Damian Priest saves Nak with a chair. We then have video of the Roman Reigns Jacob Fatu saga so far, kind of continuing to build their match for Clash in Italy. Cody Rhodes then comes in to ask Nick Aldis and wants Gunther to sign the contract for the match at Clash in Italy. Aldis says the match is made, and he'll get Gunther to sign at some point. Sami Zayn then comes in to offer Rhodes his help with Gunther, but Cody passes, leaving Sami seemingly annoyed. Sami rants to Aldis, and Rhodes comes back and says he'll fight Sami tonight. We then have Tama Tonga. He wants to take care of Damian Priest, and Solo seems to agree, despite the fact that Tama doesn't end up getting that match later. We then get Tiffany Stratton defeating Lash Legend, retaining her U.S. title via pinfall when Chelsea Green provides a distraction, and Stratton grabs a roll-up on Lash Legend for the win. We then have Nick Aldis saying that the building has a power issue coming from a certain room. That seems to be Danhausen's laboratory, with Aldis going in to yell at him, saying, "You're messing with the show." There is something under a sheet, and Aldis goes to look, and Danhausen says, "Don't touch that." So we'll see maybe what could be under the sheet eventually. It could be a Baron of something, I'm sure. We then have we look back at Danhausen uncursing the New York Knicks, who are having a hell of a time. They have won 10 games in a row. At that point, they had only won 9. But they won again last night, so they have won 10 in a row at this point. So Danhausen's uncursing of the Knicks has been working swimmingly for them. We then go to The Miz and Kit Wilson. They don't care about what Danhausen's laboratory, and implied or insists that there is no curse. Miz complains that Danhausen is causing the Cleveland Cavaliers their playoff series and by sitting courtside. Kathy Kelly says, "Why aren't you sitting courtside, being from Cleveland and all that?" The fans react big to that, and then Fraxium comes in to mock the idea of Miz and Kit being cursed, and Miz versus Axiom is made for next week. We then have Trick Williams and Lil Yachty come out. They mock the Miz for losing last week, with Yachty putting down Miz's accomplishments. Trick says something about him being a 7-time tag team champion, and Yachty says, "Yeah, that's 7 times he was carried." Carmelo Hayes then comes out and interrupts, who says that they knew this day was going to come. Carmelo actually praises Trick for what he has done around here, but the fans want to see them go at it for the U.S. title. Yachty says Trick has a messy schedule, and it won't be easy to fit Carmelo in. Carmelo says, "Can anyone even understand what this guy is saying?" Carmelo brings up Trick always being better at playing second fiddle, which gets Trick's attention, and Trick seems to accept the match, though Trick does make it very clear that it's not going to be a title match. We then have Trick Williams defeat Carmelo Hayes via pinfall with the trick shot, after Ricky Saints, who had a match with Carmelo last week, came out to provide a distraction. And obviously, like I said, Trick gets the trick shot and gets to win. Sami Zayn is pissed in the back and runs into a very still comatose Johnny Gargano. Zayn talks about how things have changed, but he and Gargano have never changed. Gargano seemingly kind of wakes up a little bit and seems to like he's hearing Zayn saying, but he kind of reacts and knocks over the water bottle that's sitting next to his head. We have Carmelo Hayes. He attacks Ricky Saint stage. We then look back at Brock Lesnar returning on Raw and attacking Obafemi, setting up their rematch at Clash in Italy. We then have Charlotte, Alexa, and Rhea defeat Fatal Influence when Reed is hit with Riptide and Natural Selection consecutively. After the match, Bliss tries to calm things down between Rhea and Charlotte, but Jade and crew come in and lay them out ahead of their six-man tag at Saturday night's main event. Cody is ready for Sami Zayn tonight and would love to have Gunther come out and be there some way so he can get in his face as well. We then look at Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu once again setting up Tribal Combat. We then go to Jade and her crew. They are ready to win their six-woman tag team match and prove that they are the dominant crew around here. We then have not Tama Tonga but Solo Sikoa defeating Damian Priest via pinfall following an MFT distraction and a Samoan spike. After the match, the beatdown is on, but Royce Keys runs in to save Priest. Priest grabs Keys by the throat, but Keys says he's here to help, which seems to calm Priest down enough to let him go. We actually do have Blake Monroe show up this week. She's just backstage, though, and doesn't think much of Chelsea Green. Monroe then leaves, and as soon as she walks away, the irresistible fourth man and take Chelsea out for kind of screwing Lash earlier. We then have Royce Keys. He wants to know what Damian Priest's problem is, but Priest yells for him getting in his business. He didn't need his help. They kind of imply that they'll have a match eventually, but they're just trying to, obviously they don't like each other. He doesn't trust that Royce hasn't been attacked by the MFTs yet and thinks he's on their side. So we'll see where that continues to go, see if they end up having a match with each other. We then have Cody Rhodes in the main event defeat Sami Zayn via pinfall following a crossroads. After the match, Gunther sleepers Cody again, and Sami kind of looks like he wants to save Cody, but eventually walks away. Gunther then poses over Cody, and Sami Zayn looks on from the aisle to end the show. So, I think Sami was already pretty much a heel at this point, but this pretty much cements that he's fully not going to be buddies with any of these faces going forward. So, but that was a really good match to end the show, a really good TV main event, Cody and Sami. So definitely check that out. Carmelo and Trick was also very good, so check that one out as well. But we will go to the end of the week. We will go to Saturday night's main event. We open with the big six-woman tag. Jade, Cargill, Michin, and B-Fab defeat Rhea, Charlotte, and Alexa when the faces kind of get on the same page towards the end of the match. Jade comes in and knocks Charlotte and Alexa out of the ring, and then she eventually hits Rhea with Jaded and gets the win. We get an interview with Ethan Page. He is ready to win the Intercontinental title tonight in a match, which will give him his biggest moment and night ever. We then go to Sol Ruka. She is ready to show Becky Lynch that the next generation is here, and it'll just take one Soul Snatcher to get her a big win over Becky. We then go to Becky's side of things. She does the usual Sports Illustrated thing, and she says tonight is a showcase for herself to show that she's still the best in the division. We then get that match. Soul is able to defeat Becky, but it's by DQ. She's going for the Soul Snatcher, and Becky pulls the ref in the way to take the move. Referee kind of rings for the bell after that, and we're not really sure who gets disqualified, but Lillian eventually announces that Soul gets the win. Obviously, she pulled the ref in the way, so that's why Becky ends up getting the disqualification. But after the match, Becky teases leaving, but then lays Soul out with the Intercontinental title. She then hits two man-to-handle slams and leaves her laying. And then we go to Penta. He talks about the differences between himself and Ethan Page and why, the differences between why he'll be leaving tonight with his Intercontinental Championship. We then get a video about the Intercontinental title, its importance to WWE, its importance to people's careers, and how people won the IC title to rise up the ranks. We then have Becky. She runs into Nick Aldis, who had just talked to Adam Pearce. The rematch with Sol Ruka is officially set for Clash in Italy, and yes, this time it is for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. We then have the Irresistible Forces. They are ready to get the women's tag team titles back because they're bigger, stronger, and better, and then the belts look way better on them anyways. We then have our Intercontinental Championship match. Penta defeats Ethan Page via pinfall following a springboard Mexican Destroyer. We then go to Paige and Brie Bella. They are ready to retain their tag team titles tonight. Paige knows this was supposed to be Nikki Bella in her place, but she is going to fight anyway, and they are the champs, and it's going to stay that way. We go to the Street Profits. They cut a promo about wanting to be tag team champions yet again. Montez Ford trying to make sure him and Angelo are on the same page, and Angelo agrees with everything he kind of says. We then go to the women's tag team title match. Paige and Brie Bella retain when Paige rolls up Nia and kind of gets an assisting push from Brie Bella from behind. So they retain yet again. We then get video of the history of the tag team titles, obviously all the great champions that they've had throughout the years. We go to Paul Heyman. He is ready for the Vision to retain the tag team titles tonight. And Theory and Paul are hyped up and excited to go out there and do just that. We then get the main event, and the Vision defeat the Street Profits when Logan Paul uses the brass knuckles to knock out Montez Ford and rolls him back in for Theory to get the pinfall. So pretty solid main event. Pretty solid Saturday night's main event, totally. I thought the opening match really blew away my expectations. And the match of the night was Ethan Page versus Penta. Thought Ethan might get the win, but I eventually think he'll probably be the guy to take it off with Penta. But I thought it was a really, really good match. Definitely check that one out if you haven't already. But the opener was really good. I think the women's singles match was kind of just to set up a future match. So we'll see. I think they can probably have a better match when they have a full match at Clash in Italy. So we'll see how and when that goes. So definitely check out Saturday night's main event. It was a solid show, top to bottom. So, but that'll do it for this week. I appreciate everyone joining me as always. And like I said, we will start next week's show with the Double or Nothing recap. And like I said, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you then.